Hey guys, Damien the Kung Fit Coach here. Last week we looked at ankle strength and mobility. I wanted to build on that again today because it really is important. In fact, it's actually been linked to long-term quality of life and even life expectancy. Now that sounds like an extreme statement, I know, but a 2012 study found that your performance on the sitting rising test directly correlated to your predicted life expectancy. Now, let's find out a little bit more about why that is and how you can improve things to increase your life expectancy. But first, if you haven't already, please do hit subscribe. And if you find this video useful, make sure you hit the like button as well. The sitting rising test is quite simply a test that looks at how easily you can sit down onto the floor and then stand back up again. Sounds simple, right? Well, there's a little bit more to it than that. You start off with 10 points. You lose a point if you have to use a knee to get down to the floor. If you use 2 knees, you lose 2 points. If you use a hand, you lose another point. If you use both hands, you lose another point. Same goes for forearms and the side of your leg. And then if at any point you lose balance or become a little bit unstable, then you lose half a point. All that applies as you sit down and then applies again as you stand up. So you've got a range of scores from 10 at your maximum all the way down to 0. Why does this matter? Well, the study that looked at this found that over their 14-year study period, those with a low score had a 6 times higher mortality rate than those with a high score on this test. And actually increasing your score by just 1% had a 21% decreased risk of mortality. And this is after things have been correlated for age, sex, and BMI, so that isn't a factor. So these are quite big numbers. Why would your performance on this test have anything to do with life expectancy? Well, as we looked at last week, your ankle strength and mobility are directly related to your balance, your chance of injury, your stability over uneven terrain, and the likelihood of you having a fall. Particularly when you're old, falling over can be quite a significant thing. There can be complications related to it, or there can be complications related to the time that you might spend in hospital afterwards, especially because older people tend to have compromised immune systems. So that's reason number 1. Makes you less likely to fall over. Reason number 2 links to, oddly, our wrists. Wrists are some of the most commonly broken parts of the body. That's because your radius and your ulnar, really thin bones that allows us to twist our hand and be really mobile, but that means that they break easily. And what you do when you fall over, you put your hands out to stop yourself from falling. So it's quite common for people to fall over, break their wrists, and then if they're relying on their hands to stand up from the floor, they're not able to get up anymore. They're left there. And hopefully someone's nearby and can get them help, but if they're not, then that's extending the period of time before they can get help, potentially leading to more complications. So, strong, mobile ankles means you're less likely to fall, and if you do fall over, you're more likely to be able to stand up and get help for yourself. So that's 2 reasons why this test, which is directly linked to ankle mobility and strength, has a direct impact on your life expectancy. Finally, performance on this test is a good general indicator of overall body strength, condition, and mobility, all of which helps contribute to a long and healthy life. So it's not necessarily just the performance on this test that matters, but the attributes that are required to perform well that matter, such as that ankle strength and mobility that we've been talking about. So we want to develop those attributes that allow us to perform well on this test, and that will have long-term benefits on our general health and well-being and our life expectancy. So let's take a look at how we can build up those attributes then. Alright, so I'm down here on the floor. First thing we want to think about is our core strength. Core strength is going to help with general stability, help prevent us falling over, and also help in this exercise because it's going to keep us stable. We're not going to lose our balance. But also, it's going to help us get a little bit of momentum. If we're not really able to use our core very much, all of our effort in standing up has to rely on our ankles, knees, hips. It's going to be difficult, but if we can use our core, use the strength in it to get a little bit of momentum, that's really going to help us get up more easily. Next, obviously we want those mobile and strong ankles. If you haven't already, make sure you watch last week's video so you can get some insights on how to develop those. Then we've got the actual technique of standing up. So we don't want to use our hands, we don't want to use our forearms, we don't want to push off the side of the leg, we don't want to put a knee down or anything like that. We just want to be able to stand straight up. Practicing this will not only help develop the attributes to contribute to that long and healthy life, but also actually practicing that and keep on practicing this means that if you do ever fall over and you can't use your hands, then you are going to be more able to stand up because you've helped develop those attributes, but also you've helped develop the skill of standing up. So there's a few ways you can do it. One way would be to try and rock forward onto your feet and then stand up, but that's really quite hard and you're going to need quite a lot of flexibility and mobility to do it. It's possible, but it's not really easy, so I wouldn't recommend that way. The easiest way is with the cross-legged technique. So we're not going to go like this and use the side of our legs. We're going to use our ankle strength. So feet are crossed, kind of like a cross-legged position, but a little bit more open, ankles crossed in front of each other. And we want to push up with our ankles and with our feet and try and drive straight upwards like this. You can also twist out of it, but you can just come straight up as well. Nice tight core helps keep you stable, and if you lean forward a little bit, it helps get your centre of weight over the ankles, which makes that standing up a little bit easier rather than the risk of pitching backwards. But this is quite hard. It's very difficult to do. It's probably not something that a lot of people are just going to be able to do straight away. So we need to work on the attributes necessary for it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a bit of weight on our hands, and then we're just going to push into the floor with our ankles and our feet. So we're going to lean forward slightly, bit of weight on the hands, and push. Just try and lift your bum up off the floor. And gradually, you want to try and take less and less weight on your hands until you don't need your hands at all, and you can just get to here. That's working that really bottom range of motion. The next thing we want to work on is that middle range of motion. But we don't necessarily want to rely on being able to get up off the floor to do it to begin with. So we can cross our feet over like this, bend our knees out to the outside, and we can just do kind of half cross-legged squats. Not going down too far, but just making sure that our legs are strong in this position with our knees going out to the outside. Because it's quite an unusual position to be in. It also helps build up the stability of the ankles and the feet in this position as well, because we're going to have to go through this position in order to get standing up. So we've got that middle position, we've got that bottom position we're working on. Then we need to try and get from one to the other. I recommend you spend a good amount of time working on those two things first. But once you're feeling relatively comfortable, you don't need your hands to do that bottom position. That middle position feels perfectly fine to you, doesn't ache or feel really difficult. What you want to do is think about leaning forward and use a bit of momentum. So you lean forward and push up. Lean forward and push up and try and get a little bit higher than you have been. And slowly build up the amount of height that you're getting. Now I probably wouldn't do more than 5 to 10 reps of this at a time because it is quite tough on the ankles and quite tough on the knees. But give it a go, rest for a few days, and then try it again. Lean forward, push up. Lean forward and push up. And gradually get higher and higher until you get to the point where you're near that mid-range. Just try to push up that little extra bit and you're standing. Next thing to do, once you're happy with that, is to try and not use momentum. So you lean forward a little bit just so your body weight is in the right position, but you just push up just with the legs. And what that is going to develop is extra strength in those joints, extra strength in those legs. And it means that if you do injure your core at all, then you're less reliant on that in getting up. You might hurt your back, for example, when you fall over. So you don't want to be reliant on that tipping forward motion to give you the momentum to stand up. So that's some ways to build the attributes, but also build the skill on this sitting rising test. And if you can build all of that up, make sure that you can stand without using any of your hands, arms, or anything like that, then it's going to have a positive effect on your life expectancy and your general long-term quality of life as well. So do make sure you give this a go. Keep practicing it. Just because you can do it now doesn't mean you're going to be able to do it in 10 years' time if you never practice this ever again. So make sure you keep at it so that you can do it into old age. Hopefully you found this interesting and useful. Do make sure you hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.